My friend sent me a screenshot at 11 on a Tuesday night. I was already in bed. I almost didn't look at it until the morning. I would have. Normally, I had a rule about my phone after 10, the kind of rule you make for yourself when you realize that nothing good ever comes from reading messages in the dark. But she had sent it 3 times in a row, which was unusual for her, and then a 4th message that said just, "Look at this now." I looked at it. It was a screenshot of a dating profile. The photos were recent. I knew that because one of them was taken in a jacket I had bought him for his birthday in October, and it was currently November. The profile listed his age correctly. His height. A bio that described him as someone who loves good food, travel, and honest conversations. That last part is the one I have thought about most since. His name on the profile was a shortened version of his real name, the version his friends used. The version I used. I put the phone down. I picked it up again. I looked at the profile for a long time, reading it the way you read something you need to fully understand before you can decide how you feel about it. Then I sent my friend 3 words back, "I see it." His name was James. We had been together for 2 years, not a lifetime, but long enough that 2 years felt like a real thing, a relationship that had shape and weight and a reasonable expectation of honesty. We had talked about the future in a general, unhurried way. We spent weekends together. We had keys to each other's places. I had met his mother. He had met mine. I had been happy, in the way you are happy when you have stopped questioning whether happiness is what you're feeling and have simply accepted that the life you have is the life you wanted. That acceptance, I would later understand, is also a form of not paying close attention. I lay in the dark and thought about the profile. The photos were not from before we were together. I had seen most of them before, posted on his social media and reposted from events I knew about. They were recent. The profile was active. The distance shown was 1 mile, which meant he had been on the app near my apartment, near his apartment, in the places we went together. The bio said he was looking for something real. I thought about how to feel about that and could not quite settle on a single answer. What I kept coming back to was not the betrayal of it, though that was there, and it was large, but the specific texture of it. The way he had described himself. Honest conversations. I turned that phrase over and over in the dark. I did not message him that night. I went to sleep, eventually, after a long time of not quite sleeping, and I woke up with the particular clarity that comes after a bad night, where you have processed something while unconscious that you were not ready to process while awake. I made a decision over breakfast. I was going to match with him. I was going to do it from an account he couldn't trace back to me, a new profile, a photo he had never seen, a name that wasn't mine. I was going to see how he behaved when he thought no one was watching. I was going to give him one opportunity to be the person he had told me he was, and I was going to see what he did with it. I know how this sounds. I have thought about it carefully since, and I would probably make the same decision again, because what I needed was not suspicion, I already had that, but certainty. Evidence that was concrete and specific enough that there was no version of the explanation I hadn't already heard and considered. I set up the account that evening. A photo of a friend who lives in another city and had given me permission. A minimal bio. I found his profile and swiped right. He matched within an hour. He messaged first. The opening line was easy and warm, the kind of opener that comes from someone who has done this enough times to know what works. We exchanged a few messages over the next 2 days. He was charming in exactly the way he was charming in person, which was, I realized, the most information I needed. He wasn't a different person on the app. He was entirely himself. On the 3rd day he asked if I wanted to get coffee. I said yes. I chose the place, a cafe near his office, one I knew he liked, one where there was a good chance he would not feel uncomfortable walking in alone. I confirmed the time the morning of. I arrived 15 minutes early. I chose a table near the back with a clear line of sight to the door. I ordered a flat white and I sat and I waited with the kind of stillness that comes from having already made all your decisions and just waiting for the last piece to click into place. He came in at exactly the agreed time. He was wearing the jacket from the profile photo. He saw me before he saw the table I was sitting at. I watched his face move through three things in about 2 seconds: recognition, confusion, understanding. He stopped walking. I did not stand up. I did not raise my voice. I looked at him from across the room for a moment, long enough to make sure we both understood what was happening, and then I picked up my coffee, stood up, and walked out. I did not look back. I had nothing left to say in that room that I hadn't already said by being there. He called 3 times that afternoon. I let the calls go to voicemail. He sent a long message that evening, an explanation, an apology, a series of clauses that were designed to make the thing smaller than it was. I read the message once, to make sure there was nothing in it I hadn't already anticipated, and then I deleted it. My friend, the one who had sent the screenshot, brought dinner over that Friday. We talked for 4 hours. She said she was proud of me. I told her I wasn't sure proud was the right word. She said, "What's the right word?" I thought about it. I said, "Ready." I had been with James for 2 years and I had given those 2 years something real. That was not wasted, the time, the care, the version of me that had been willing to build something with another person. It had been real even if he hadn't been. There is something specific about the way it ended that I want to name, because I think it matters. I did not scream at him in that coffee shop. I did not cry. I did not send an angry message later that evening or share the screenshot publicly or do any of the things that would have felt, in the moment, like justice. I just stood up and walked out, and the walking out was its own complete sentence. He knew what it meant. I knew what it meant. Nothing else needed to be said. I have thought about why I chose that, and I think the answer is that by the time I was sitting at that table waiting for him, I had already used up my anger. I had spent 2 weeks grieving the relationship, asking myself what I had missed and why, sitting with the discomfort of having trusted someone who had not deserved it. By the time he walked through the door, I was not in the stage of grief where anger lives. I was in the stage that comes after, the quiet one, where you are simply waiting for the last thing to be done so you can begin whatever comes next. The whatever comes next turned out to be good. It took some time and it was not always comfortable, but the life on the other side of that cafe door is one I chose entirely, without accommodation or compromise, and it fits in a way the previous one did not. What I know now that I didn't know then is that the clarity you feel after a decision like that, the specific lightness of having seen something true and acted on it, is not the same as being okay. Being okay comes later. But the clarity comes first, and it is enough to build from. If you've ever had to confirm something you already knew, you know how that cafe felt. Subscribe to Dark Karma. New story every Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday.